You're listening to the Overwatch Rundown, a weekly podcast covering the latest in the esports scene of competitive Overwatch. Today is Tuesday, September 12th, and we are covering the Contenders League, NA, and EU, some Overwatch Pacific Championship Season 2 as the first round robin ends, and OGN Apex Season 4. Okay, well, Jax, another weekend, more contenders.
Busy weekend.
Another 8 games for EU, 6 games, 6 games for EU, 4 games for North America. And that's just, the Contenders League, Jax. We've hyped it up previously. We finally got around to it too. The Overwatch Pacific Championship season week of death sort of happened, where we had Ardian facing all these good teams, and Flash Wolves was facing Blank. All this stuff happened this week there.
Some crazy scheduling in OPC. I'm looking at this and I say, this is not fair to Ardian to have them face these 3 teams in the last week of the round robin. And looking ahead, Lepelos, it's more of the same in the second round robin. When week 6 comes along, it's the same Ardian facing AHQ, Blank, and Flash Wolves again. So we'll see.
We'll have to pay attention to that week for sure. We definitely paid attention to this week to some of the score lines. Checked out some of the games too. So we will have that coverage going on. But before we really jump into, I guess, contenders today, why don't we talk a little bit about what's been going on in the scene in general? There's so many things we can jump in on. Whether you want to talk about,
Lepelos, we might as well start with the Middle East. And
yeah,
I have serious doubts about the future of Middle Eastern Overwatch, because Yala Esports has released their team as of, I think, was September 6th. So here I am a week behind finding out, but when it comes to Middle Eastern Overwatch, I tend to be a little slow.
I guess you can only win so many GeForce Cups before you feel like you've reached the top of your region. Is that what are they on to anyways? 39 or something? I can't. I shouldn't joke about that, because we honestly haven't been paying attention to that much scene. But it is sort of concerning to see quote unquote worldwide sport dropping even further.
If I just
teams.
read you the first sentence from the press release, Lepelos,
Yeah.
As of today, we announced the release of our Overwatch roster, given the uncertainties of the scene that has left organizations with limited exposure opportunities.
And I think that basically
That's Blizzard killing them, Lepelos.
It is. That's them basically saying we have no chance to compete in this market, and it's not going to be worthwhile. There's not going to be any tournaments that are worth keeping a team for. It's not worth our advertisers.
I'm trying to think, because normally they would sneak in a Middle East GeForce Cup, somewhere, about every month or so. And for the last few months, Lebos, it hasn't been there. Just like the last few months, we haven't had a monthly melee. And I'm wondering if Blizzard cut them off as well, even though they were in no way direct competition with what Blizzard is trying to do.
We do know that there was a cap on funds that a single organization could offer as rewards or something, right?
Yeah,
and
I think it was 50,000 or so before they then had to, get a different license from Blizzard, and who knows what all that entails. But
yeah, and then as well, I think there's you're supposed to get special rights to broadcast if you get over a certain size, or if you're getting certain amount of funding. I don't know the details of which. I think it's definitely gonna hurt their game long term for that. I know, from time to time, I haven't seen it, and maybe we'll give a coverage sometime and just brief with some of these smaller tournaments that have happened. We did one a couple months back in Montreal, a local one, which was cool. I've seen the Scrub Cups appear on r/competitive.
There was one this week that it's such a busy week, I didn't have time to actually fit
exactly.
into the schedule. The Overguard Haste 1K series, a bit of a surprise there. Who was the winner of that, Lepelos? I don't know. You can see it on the schedule, but I'm pretty sure, a lot of people don't even know that the event even happened.
Exactly. It's hard. It's hard enough to compete with the huge tournaments going on. So I don't know what Blizzard is doing trying to squash these smaller time tournaments. Honestly, it's these tournaments that need to get the next round of players and next teams and people to be interested, because I'll be honest, the competitive mode is not doing that for most people these days.
A lot of the what we will call tier 2 or 3 NA teams that are contenders, say take Congarna. I first saw Congarna, during the the Academy Gaming Weeklies.
Yeah.
Those still go on, by the way, every Monday night. They have like $100 prize pool thanks to some sponsors, and they do the Matcherino thing that Gosu used to do. But there are some like Bishu. The first time I saw Bishu was in Academy Gaming. He was on a team. I don't even remember what the team is called anymore, but he was poached. Like literally, his team was winning every week. He got poached, and then that team kind of fell apart. What was that? I don't even remember the name of that team.
Sort of like Runaways in season 3, or
it's just kidding, you hate to see your quote unquote grassroots get cut down so early, but something is up, Lepelos.
Yeah, well,
Blizzard is getting these people to invest in the Overwatch League. We had today we had a report that 2 more slots were sold. The Houston slot to
was it Optic that took the Houston slot?
I believe it was Optic, and
then there's a Philly slot. You're saying that
Philly slot, and then they're trying to sell the Chicago slot to the owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, the NBA team, or co-owner of the Milwaukee Bucks. So
you call these slots, Jax, but as you know, as I will continue to say, if you're playing all the games in LA, does it even effing matter?
This is just the first season. They have to get the foundation set, and then they can go out and do the whole worldwide thing. So for season 1, they'll be here in LA, where maybe I might go see a few games. I doubt it, because Burbank is hell for me to get to and get out of. But the thing is, Blizzard is talking these people into spending $20 million to buy in the plus. Yeah. These are pretty savvy businessmen. Like, they didn't get to where they are with their billions of dollars by just throwing their money around.
I agree. So here's my own counterpoint to why I think it will work is I don't think we'll see a level of esports marketing from any other game compared to what will happen in the future to the Overwatch. Like, you think what we've seen so far is a lot of advertising for esports? I think that's about to blow up. And
it's interesting you say that, because one of the criticisms people have towards Blizzard right now is the lack of marketing for the esports, right? Like, I mean,
it's because they're refining it, though. They've been refining.
How hard is it to put on the launcher Overwatch Contenders with a link to Twitch?
But
how hard is that?
Here's the thing, though. We're talking about marketing like in conventional means to people, to a broader audience. Like, that's what they're trying to get into it. And that's what they got to sell. Like, they don't have to sell people who are interested in the game.
Want to get the people who are playing your game.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Who don't even play the game.
I mean, there's a reason why like RLCS and LCS make a lot of or get a great viewership, and part of that is because generally those launches are pretty quick about getting you to where you can watch. I mean, it's the same complaints they've had. Blizzard has had this in StarCraft as well for their esports scene there, about issues with marketing for their campaign, and jokes about that game being a dead game for years because of aspects like that.
One of our viewers in the chat on twitch.tv/Lepelos, where we cast this live every week around Tuesday around 9.
Speaking of advertisements of everyone, clearly.
But he's saying Blizzard has been adding it to the launcher. It's just in a spot filled with ads, and like everybody, you don't even pay attention to that. You just gloss over. You don't even see them anymore because we're so used to tuning them out. But
yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff in terms of like they will do well when the main Overwatch League lands to have that like front and center when the games are on, at least. I'm sure they'll get some of this stuff fixed. I'm not saying everything will be perfect, but I'm just saying the marketing machine is going to be serious. But Jax, Blizzard, as we were just saying, cutting people off at the grassroots campaigns, but not only that, they're shaving people off the top at teams like C9, dropping top tier pros again this week.
Surplus to requirements, Lepelos. The thing is, I think this is week 4. I think rosters had to be final now. I'm not sure. I don't think they can rotate any more people in or out.
But I think they can say you're not playing anymore, which is basically what I guess they have done.
It's just odd because Cloud9 every week they run out someone different, or they sign someone different, or who knows. I mean, it makes for some entertainment, I suppose. But
with the roster locks in though, Jax, C9 should be set with what they have, and we'll have to look in on how they're going to do with that in the future. But it is concerning seeing these contender teams. A number of them already, the players in the Contenders already looking for Overwatch League. I mean, we joked about Renegades basically being a looking for team right now, and it sort of seems like that when you watch them. So that there's that going on.
But I mean, Buds from FNRGFE, who unlike Renegades are still challenging for a playoff spot. He posted looking for team. It's just you have to take care of yourself right now. You got to be like Sinatra Leplos. Go out there, get that $150,000. Get that, force a bidding war between Cloud9 and and NRG, and he profited from it.
Definitely
we'll
Sinatra so far. I think star player, probably salary wise, as far as we know. I don't think there's anyone that's higher, or maybe not getting close to that. That's a ridiculous salary to get. That's pretty awesome. But if we're also talking about people being shaved from the community at large, can we talk about the community also throwing some shade recently at Golden Boy and the announcing in general, as well as the observers? I know we've talked about observing.
I still have problems with the observers, and I will not apologize for that. For Golden Boy, I think what we were saying in the pre-show, and for those who aren't aware, on twitch.tv/Lepelos, we do talk before and after the podcast. We just sit and talk back and forth and talk with the people in chat. And here I linked a Twitch clip of Golden Boy talking about his own uncertain future in Overwatch and how he feels, I think rightly so, that maybe he's not welcome in the Overwatch community. I'm not saying that we don't feel he's not welcome. It's just that if you look at Reddit, which
is voice of the mob, if you want to call it.
It's a central point where people talk about casting and observing and things like that. And he's very active on the competitive Overwatch Reddit, more than I think almost any of the other casters. He's posting all the time. And he just, you can hear it in his voice how I think he's been trying. I've said before, I see him in streams and in threads more than anybody else. So he is exposing himself to Overwatch, but his casting is just,
it's not hitting the mark currently. I think it's safe to say that right now. What I really want to mention about it, though, and bringing this into the context of why I'm bringing this up here, is just we have Blizzard, causing issues with like smaller scale tournaments. We have teams letting go of high caliber players like Midseason, and then we have community people attacking new talent trying to break into the broadcasting scene. I mean, it feels like we're under siege from all angles on anything trying to actually progress the competitive scene in pro scene.
I mean, the casting side of it is very harsh, dude. I like I said, I'm a fan of the Academy Gaming series. I watch I followed the people who run that since from Guild Wars 2. You had CT Hurix and Game with Storm, right?
Yeah.
They've actually casted a bunch of Overwatch. They probably, believe it or not, Lepelos, they probably casted more Overwatch than anybody besides ZP and Hex. It's just very small time and no one ever knows about it, but they have. And here's the deal. They didn't get the invite in, right? Because they're not a part of the crowd. Even take someone who was a part of the crowd. You remember Ask Joshy?
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
you notice how I said remember?
Yep.
He's not here in Lepelos. He didn't get, that invite into this circle right now, even though he had plenty of Overwatch casting experience.
I mean, he even held that tournament out of his own money, I think, right? If I remember.
That wasn't him, but I think
that was
that was Josh OG who did
okay,
it,
yeah.
But he wasn't casting. But I don't know.
My bad.
Man. It's just
I'm just trying to say, it's difficult. It's difficult to progress in the scene if everyone seems to be closed off to development. You know what I mean? So like, Blizzard closed off to team development or tournament development through amateurs. Teams closing off more and more, like whether it's Yalla closing down their doors or teams with members looking for Overwatch League teams, so they're breaking up, like Renegades or Cloud9 dropping members so quickly, like. And then we have community attacking people too. They're not letting people progress.
For the Overwatch League, and there are way more players than fit on 14 teams.
Exactly. So
take in sister teams, but it's a very critical moment right now for professional Overwatch. It could go either way. Blizzard they have a plan like that. They have sold these investors 13 out of 14, and soon be 14 out of 14 investors on spending $20 million for the Overwatch League.
Well, Jax,
Hopefully the Overwatch Rundown levels makes it to whenever the Overwatch League comes out. So
well, yeah, so we can earn that real money then, right? We'll get another few dozen listeners and be rolling in the pennies at that point. Either way, Jax, I do agree with you. I'm sure they have a plan, but as you know, I'm a fan of execution. Execution has to be tight in order for things, often more important than the plan itself. Jax, this week, Contenders League, we saw some executions not so tight.
I mean, Lepolis, you might as well. We're starting with what, North American Contenders?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into North America right off the bat.
I mean, you talk about consistency and execution. We start out with Envy versus Renegades, Lepolis.
I mean, come on. We knew where this game was going to go, and we had seen Envy sort of play around with their matches in previous weeks.
Plays with their food somewhat. Is
absolutely. I mean, you got to keep morale up on Taimu. I'm not even kidding. You know, like, this is not a joke. This is serious. You've got to keep his morale up because it's clear that this team goes up and down with how he's feeling about the game. Right now, he's up. He's allowed to do what he wants, and Envy looks good. Well, I don't know how to summarize the game any shorter than that, but let's go through it.
I was looking for a thread. I didn't find it, but okay. I guess we might as well run down the scores. We started on King of the Hill. Lijiang Tower went to Envy 2-1. Kings Row, one of the more competitive maps, by the way, went to Envy 4-3. Hanamura 3-2 Envy, and Dorado 2-1 Envy. So 4-0 for Envy, no surprise.
Yes.
One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was a comment. I don't remember the exact wording, but the title of the thread was something like Envy versus Renegades is how competitive Overwatch should be played. And what he was getting at, Lepolos, is that the sheer number of heroes that was played in the series and the variety that we got made for an entertaining show, and is what the game should look like instead of the meta compositions that we normally get, 2-2-2, or the various 2-2-2s that we get with the same heroes.
Yeah.
Genji, Tracer, Doomfist, Soldier, McCree, with those guys rotated in or out. And I think someone actually had an exact number, but there were a lot of heroes played in the Envy versus Renegade series. Some of them, we only saw briefly, but at least they were played.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you, do you agree with what this person was saying? Not that I have to link to the thread. Do you think that we need more games like this where everybody, when I say everybody, I mean all the heroes are, quote unquote viable, or is it better to just have the meta picks with, perfect execution?
In terms of, these are like opposing ideas ultimately a lot of the time, right? Like, if you have a lot of changes in heroes, you usually give up the ability to execute. And the ability, as I was just saying earlier, that ability to have any plan and execute it well is usually better than just picking whatever heroes counters whatever. Like, the only way that they can balance that is that the counters are so strong that you can switch around and not play at like the number one spot for that hero, and the counter is strong enough that it will make up for that lack of execution and inexperience that you have on that hero. So while I love watching interesting interesting compositions come out, I agree. Like, I think that would be a great place for Overwatch. I think the players will not enjoy that as much, though, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen.
You just said it's all about keeping Taimu happy.
I mean, Taimu will be happy.
He's running around on pre-buff Junkrat, killing these professionals.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's insane. It's insane watching him do that. I love it, though, and it goes again to say maybe the old meta was only the meta because everyone believed it was the meta. It's one of these like chicken and the egg things. Like, is it the meta because it's the best, or is it the meta because everybody thinks it's the best and plays it the most, so it becomes the best, right? Like, I enjoy watching the changes. As much as you make fun of them for their Hanamura defense, or Renegade's actually able to hold out a little bit there with the Torb.
I knew you were going to do this.
I mean, Torb, Orisa, Symmetra coming out there.
I mean, Lepolis, we saw another interesting Hanamura defense that
we'll talk about later, and you guys will want to hear about that one. But we're staying here because we've seen Renegades do this a number of times. Yeah. Talked about it. they this is a prime example though of switching heroes and switching strats and not being able to execute. And what I mean here is Jur catching himself in the open on the backside to effect on a tracer. You can't have that happen to you as the way you start out a fight. Like, I look at that defense, and while they're able to force OT based on that defense of the B point attack, or sorry, the A point attack, the second time around, I look at what they could have gotten from the Symmetra if Jur didn't die there. You know, whether it
That
would be a
was
teleporter or a.
that was so. I mean, when he died and he just went Lucy, I was like, that kind. I mean,
Yeah, it kill. I mean, they did well. Like, I
the
mean,
thing that drove me insane is looking at Mangachu with the armor packs that aren't coming out Lepolos.
exactly,
He's got
execution.
150 right there. Throw out the because the same thing happened last week. I don't understand what is he holding on to them for, Lepolos. He dies with them.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you're not using it for yourself. You're not. I mean, why am I looking at your DPS?
They
Or
need
your
to be out there.
healers
Yeah.
without your armor? And because one of the things that is so great about this comp that they're running is the snowball potential if you go the route of shield generator. Although I think effect would have been all over any shield generator they had.
It wouldn't have mattered if you had a shield generator or like you got to keep it where your fight is. Like
right.
that's the true thing, and it's going to get pulse bomb, and you know it's going to get pulse bomb, and you just accept that. But you force the pulse bomb.
At least that's a pulse bomb on something that's not one of your players.
Exactly, right? Like that's a whole point of doing any of this is to take away their resources in order to deal with your build up things. I don't think they play it very well, to be honest. I think they play it the best out of anyone we've seen at this point.
Because very few people play it, man.
Exactly. So.
Okay.
But it's not just that. I look at what their breakdown. They had Sherlocky come back on the Sombra, and they were able to hold, but they didn't have any support when Sherlocky switched off, right? Like, so your Torbarissa now has like a Lucio support. Okay, so the list of execution errors goes down, but the fact that it forced OT against Envious of all people, Jack, shows you these strategies can work at high levels, right? Like they can. And watching Renegades do this, like I would honestly like to see Envy do that strategy and see if they can pull that off, because
I mean it's easy to do. I mean Envy has been running non-meta picks the last few weeks.
Exactly.
They've been playing. I was gonna say they've been playing subpar opposition, but that's not true. Week 1 they played Immortals. It's just they got to a point in the game where they felt comfortable enough to do this. I would like to see Envy do it, although they won't though. I'd like to see Envy do it against someone who is actually pressuring them, because I go back to Korea Lepolos and what happened to Envy. They got run over on Dorado by a Junkrat because Lepolos they had no counter. Like we talk about Taimu rolling people with pre-buff Junkrat. This
they got
on
rolled.
Dorado Lepolos.
Yeah, back then
they had nothing.
Back
they
then, yeah.
Deal with Junkrat.
And this is still something that I think needs to be talked about, which is like, we've talked about checks. Some teams can't handle certain checks. Like, you don't know what to do if all of a sudden a good Pharah is fine. In fact, I'm watching more and more, like, we can talk about it, but like we're starting to see NA take over with the pharmacy appearing much more often across the world these days. Yeah. So, and there's a reason for that, Jax. The reason is because if people can't handle it, it works, right? And
Fair Mercy is, we talk about how OP Tracer is or how OP Doomfist is. Fair Tracer, very strong Lepolos. Not the easiest thing in the counter, and it's not something you can counter with just one person. But that being said, Lepolos, let's jump into the next game.
Yeah, I mean, Envy Renegades, like, just done. But
Renegades effectively out. Envy effectively,
through
to the playoffs.
Yeah.
But Lepolos, the next game, FaZe versus Rogue, two teams that aren't guaranteed spots in the playoffs.
Yeah, the huge game here, particularly more for Rogue, I would say, than FaZe. But FaZe also, you can't really say, like, it's huge for both teams. Both teams need to show up. And Jax, let's go through the rundown. Nepal.
For me, things that stood out for me on Nepal. First round, you had AKM on Diva. I don't have to go into any more than that. Second round, you had Nico on Diva.
I mean, that's something we've continually talked about. You guys go check out the last 5 or 6 episodes. You can find us talking there about it.
I mean, yes, Diva is very strong right now, and it's just, for me, it's not that they're playing bad. They're just not playing at the level we've seen other Divas played. But the biggest thing for me, Lepelos, was on the second round. The first round went to Faith. On the second round, Lepelos, there was a moment, Carpe versus Soon, 1v1 Tracers on the point. I don't remember the series. It was 2 or 3 episodes ago on the rundown where we talked about a Tracer. It was a Tracer v Tracer fight, right?
Yeah.
And I actually believe it was Rogue involved in it.
Way back when,
you have
on
one team
Village.
pushing in on Shrine. Oh, sorry, on Village, right?
Back
And
then.
a lot of times when you push in, you want to take the high ground.
Yeah.
So your Tracer goes in to tickle the point, to force them to react to it, to allow you to make entry. In the game a few weeks ago, the Tracer who was attacking the point lost. So the defenders didn't have to react to that. And the attackers who were coming through the main spawn, they didn't make any progress here. Here, Carpe beat Soon Lepelos in the 1v1. Takes the point, effectively crippling Rogue because look, you don't expect Soon to lose the 1v1. He did. They didn't have anybody else in a position to back up the point. As a result, their defense collapses. FaZe takes the round.
I also have to give a shout out though in Nepal also to both Shadowburn doing really well, particularly in first round. Joe Meister the same. I have to say Joe Meister landing that sound barrier based on his positioning when Unko came in with the EMP on Shrine at the end there.
Yeah.
Like won them that fight. Secured that fight, I should say. Just because Unko could only EMP half the team and you're either going to get the Lucio or the team. So
yeah. The second round, second map, Lepelos, 4-3 FaZe on Nambani over Rogue. Pretty close series, but the thing that I wanted to talk about was Volskaya, map 3. FaZe was up 2-0, and on Volskaya we ended in a draw. But the way the tournament is structured, Lepelos, a draw gives each team a point. But that effectively ended the series because FaZe then had 3, Rogue had 1, and even though there's one map to play, they could only get 1 point from that. And I just wanted to get your take on what you think about a tournament being structured like this. I mean, it was over on a draw. Like it felt kind of anticlimactic because Rogue, who needed this win, Lepelos, what do we do?
Yeah,
what do we do?
You're drawn in game 3. It's definitely a pain. I don't like it. There's a couple of things about the numbers I don't like, particularly because they're standings. When they show standings, they're showing map wins, and if a draw gives you a map win, then drawing is like a goal. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous that it gives you the same value as a win if that's going to be a tie-breaking determinant. Yeah. I think that is pretty unfair overall because then you get some score lines are out of sync, right? Like theoretically you could get if you draw on the hybrid as well, you could have 2 draws and then a map each, so you could end with a 4-3 scoreline. It's just ridiculous. I'd prefer that to go to a tiebreaker, a run-round tiebreaker to break the draw.
Okay, so but do you take the King of the Hill, or
you just King of the Hill? You accept the fact that the mode has some drawbacks, and drawing is one of them, and you just move on. Particularly in a best of, not even a best of. It's a four map set.
Right? That has to have a winner. So
yeah. Having a draw on one of those 4 maps is pretty ludicrous to me.
Okay. So next map was Watchpoint Gibraltar, FaZe 2-1. Rogue went on the attack first, couldn't get through the hangar. FaZe got through the hangar.
Barely though. Should we say they barely made it through first there? Rogue showing
but they made it.
Yeah, they did. They did, right?
I mean, the thing for me though is this is another loss for Rogue, Lepelos, and
serious
they're 2-3
loss.
now. This is
dangerous territory for them to be in at this point, particularly losing to another team that's sort of in the middle in FaZe, right?
I think coming into the season, I had FaZe rated pretty highly. Their roster looked incredibly strong, and still, besides their loss to Envy, they have looked pretty good. Shadowburn was never dealt with this entire series.
Absolutely not. He came through there in Gibraltar. You can't leave Shadowburn. Shadowburn is picking up, Jax. I feel like Shadowburn was good, is how I describe him over the last number of times we had seen him prior to Contenders, and I feel like he's only been getting better. And this week he showed up
the thing for me
at a higher level.
You have to make someone else beat you. Like it's just that simple. You even if you feel you're dictating, you're giving too many resources to anti-Shadowburn duty. You force someone else on the team to beat you.
Yeah.
You force Spree to make more plays in the off tank position. You force Carpe to do again. Carpe very good. I think Carpe
Also played
compared to
incredibly
previous
well.
iterations of Phase where you had Too Easy and Mikey A, I think Carpe is a step above both of those guys, and it's allowing Shadowburn a lot more freedom to do things because of the threat that Carpe is, as I talked
Yeah,
about on
exactly.
Nepal. But Fact of Fiction playing solid. Joe Meister is really impressing me on the Lucio.
Yeah, I have to say some of the
with
best
what he's
Lucio
doing.
play I think in NA that we saw this weekend was coming from Joe Meister this weekend. Watching it, I'm looking forward to Team Canada doing well with Joe Meister on their decks.
and
I have a good
Rock is coming in on the main support. Rogue Lepelos,
not
this
not so
team,
great.
we talked about it last week and the previous weeks. They're just playing it as if we're, this is 2 metas ago, and I think
They look
when they
lost in it.
came when they came out of hibernation in the winter, they had focused really hard on their teamwork, and I don't get it. How do you lose teamwork? Same team, and with Rogue, it's just the synergy is not there anymore, and
Ever
it's like they
since they've moved to
plateaued.
the diva, like having a diva on their team, they haven't been able to pull it together. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, there were
It felt like they were so dependent, or it feels like they're so dependent on their 3 DPS on a good kill, and they have that timing down, but they can't seem to do it with 2 DPS and a diva.
triple DPS not working. I mean, triple DPS not working for them, and the 222 not working for them either. And I mean,
Exactly.
there were times where AKM came out on a Sombra, and it's like you talk about execution with Renegades, and their weird comps not being executed very well. It's not there for Rogue. Like
Rogue
AKM Sombra
Sombra,
is
yeah.
just I don't.
He brought it out last week. It didn't look great. It looks better this week. I'll be honest. It did look better. I mean, they
It looked
almost
better, but
held
I
there
mean, compared to other
on first
Sombras
point.
we've seen,
No, I agree with you. I don't think it's that good. I feel like there's a couple things that I would say. I'd say Nico silent, AKM struggling, soon can't get as much with his tracer ever since Diva's been out, and he hasn't been as game changing as he used to be. And from there, the rogue lineup, like, what are you going to do if you're Nox or Wings or Unco?
it's a thread I saw on Reddit that was talking about how teams are struggling because their Zenyatas aren't fragging out as much.
I think
And the two
that's
teams in particular are Rogue and E United, and I'm talking about Unco and Boombox Lepelos. I mean, we'll come to E United later, but the ability. The more I watch these games, the more I'm thinking, and I go back to thinking in the past of how reliant Rogue especially was on Lepelos
yeah,
getting those picks, where you had Unco getting picks on Zen, but more importantly, there was a time in the past before you became somewhat of a meme. Soon got many picks with his pulse bombs before the fight even started.
exactly.
And during Rogue's heyday, when they were so strong, I'm starting to think, how good were they in a team fight, like in a straight up 6v6? Because most of the times levels it wasn't a 6v6 because they were getting the picks, whether it was Soon or AKM, or his AKM with his soldier. He was dangerous. Like the Lunatic-Hai coach he was so concerned about AKM soldier because of how good he is, and it's not like he's lost that ability, Lepelos. It's just
Diva,
teams are
man.
playing around it better, and Diva is broken. But
changes we'll see in the future. Massive
yeah,
changes to the meta. We'll see
Rogue
what
in
happens to that.
trouble.
But Jax,
Basically,
I
Rogue in serious trouble here. Lepelos,
I
they don't have they're not signed up for Overwatch League yet.
yeah, no. Who knows if they're going to be picked up? Although I could see a Paris team being placed in LA with everyone
Lepelos,
else.
they have for the first season they have 13 out of the 14 teams, and the last one being Chicago apparently. So
Yeah,
who knows? But then Lepelos, that takes us
screw
into
a
our new
worldwide tournament. But sorry, what was that? Takes us.
that takes us into our new favorite team here on the Overwatch Rundown.
Yeah, none other
And not
than
just because they're winning, but because they're somewhat entertaining to watch, and the story that they have, surrounding them in Vision versus Kungarna.
exactly. This is another important game. Obviously, something we've mentioned previously when it comes to Envision. Will they play down to their
Yeah.
opponents? And here we are, Kungarna not doing so great these days, hoping to get a win off of this
But
really strong.
Congarna was undefeated before they came across Envy last week, and they lost 4-0.
Yeah, they lost.
That was expected. But
Yeah,
here,
that was expected.
I mean, because you just go back and look at the stat sheet they had of Michael versus Effect and how embarrassing that was for Michael.
Exactly.
But here, Leplos, you've got Michael versus McGravy. Okay, a little more even. Although McGravy is kind of growing on me.
He's been improving as we watch. It feels like too.
To point out, Fozix did not play here. He was recovering, even though he did play for Envision in another tournament.
Yeah, he had a surgery
later. But Lepelos, I'm not seeing any fall
off. No, I mean, here we have Nepal Jax. It was, let's be honest, it was a close Nepal. Particularly off the start where Congarna gets the first flip, first point in a pretty close one. I think like 196, something like that. 199, I guess, in that round. But then Envision just show up 100-0 and then just don't stop from there on the Shrine. And it doesn't really stop there. Eichenwald, continue the dominance continues there. 1 sec. Let me pull up the actual scores for this.
I mean, just while you're doing it, going back to Nepal, Congarna did take the first round, and I think as it was happening, or maybe I think we watched it at different times, but I think we both said they started out a little shaky, and by them I mean Envision, where
definitely.
They looked like a tier 3 team, like the teamwork, which was a pretty big staple point of Envision, just wasn't there. And I was like, what is happening? I was like, is Fozix, a vocal leader for the team? Is that why they're not looking right? Or because they were playing in Montreal at this LAN that they were at, so I was just thinking to myself, what is happening? And then after that, from that point on, from the first round of King of the Hill to the end of the series, Lepelos, let's just be honest here. Nepal 2-1, Eichenwald 2-1, Hanamura 2-1, Watchpoint Gibraltar 3-2. Congarna got beat pretty badly.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say Congarna didn't have their moments, but they're pretty bad. Okay, so let's talk about Hanamura, the attack time of Envision there, 402 Jax on their first attack. That's ridiculous. Very fast. Gibraltar, minute 12 on their cap out time. Right? Like, not bad. That's a pretty good time, I would say, on Gibraltar to get through for Envision. On the flip side, Gibraltar was looking pretty decent off the start, I think, for Congarna there for a little bit with Baby Bay's Widow coming out and pressuring them through first and second phase actually pretty well. They had over 4 minutes, Jax, for that third phase, and then they're held off of what you would like to call... Come on.
Oh, wait, what did I like to call it? I don't even remember.
The Widow's Trap. The Widow's Trap.
See, I fell into my own trap.
Yeah.
I mean, why? I think this one, you and I actually watched this live, and we were talking on Steam.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, they had a D.Va, they had a Winston, and they had a Genji. And we're just saying, how is Baby Bay allowed so much freedom to snipe? Because there's 3 various checks on the enemy team, and as soon as we kind of said that, they dove him and he died, and from that point on he came back out. I'm saying to myself, you just fell into. I actually said to myself, he fell into the trap at that point. Once they got him that first time on the final, during the final third, during the home stretch, he had to give it up, Lepelos. With 30 seconds, you talk about 4 minutes. I remember now. At 30 seconds, Lepelos, he switched to Genji. What are you gonna do? What are you going to do with 30? What happened to the previous 3.5 minutes, man?
Yeah, definitely a bit of an issue there for Congarna making it through that final third. Jax, they had the opportunity. Like, you can't say that they didn't have opportunities that they provided themselves. But, I'm looking through my notes here, and, whether it's, Michael getting picked on his Doomfist immediately on Hanamura, or if it's Dogman Transcendence early in the second phase of Eichenwald. I mean, actually, Jax, I think... Was it this one? Oh yeah, this was the one. I think we need to talk about this. Envision hold. Okay, so Congarna really quick through 8 point on Eichenwald, Jax, and then the defense comes out from Envision before the gate even opens.
That's correct. We normally don't see teams push up that far, Lepelos. I mean, they tend to wait for the door to open, and then they utilize the high ground castle to engage from. And here, Envision was like, we don't want to wait that long. We want to fight them now.
Yeah.
And fight them they did.
And, I mean, they used alts on the side of Congarna. Didn't work to even make gate. It was It was something. This
It
is
was
like
cool.
watching old Selfless beat up on teams at
Or
Hollywood
Envy
Spawn.
versus Code 7 on Dorado. But
Maybe not
Lepelos,
that bad, but
Lepelos envision once again. I mean, we listen. We talked about our concern about them not playing to the level, or playing to the level of their competition. 3-1 Rogue Lepelos, 3-1 Immortals, 4-0 Renegades, 4-0 Congarna. Envision showing that they might be the real deal.
definitely showing up in the current quote unquote meta, but definitely hitting their peak in stride. And that's something that we like to see. Jax, let's go take a look at a team or two trying to find that stride. We have final game in NA, Immortals versus FNRG. Jax, why don't we go ahead and take a look at what happened in that series?
Disaster, but okay.
I mean, for what side? One team's got to win, right?
I mean, we're starting out on Oasis 2-0 FNRGFE Lepelos. Then we had the blockbuster that was Nambani 6-5 Immortals, Volskaya Lepelos 2-1 FNRGFE, and Dorado 2-1 FNRGFE for the 3-1 win over Immortals Lepelos, who is now 0 for 5 and out of the playoffs.
I mean, they've already stated on Twitter that they're looking forward to working towards Overwatch League. I think that's a pretty professional way to say that they're aware of their own issues. You can't avoid it. You can't lose to FNRG so badly and not realize that you have some issues. Like they got 200 0'd, 2 rounds of 100 0 against them on University and City Center on Oasis to start the match. Your wind is already out and dead before you could even begin.
Immortals has the flexibility. I don't see how that happens, Lepelos. Like, their hero pool is deep enough. Agilities and Grim, agilities especially. How does it happen? I really, really want to hear, out of anybody else, I want to hear the comms for Immortals, because we talk about Rogue struggling, playing like a few months ago. Immortals is playing even worse at Lepelos. Now, yes, some of these teams have caught up. Because I forget who it was. Maybe it was Muma, I think.
Muma, said that on his stream when he was talking about it.
Immortals won Season 0, it's because teams weren't, acclimated to the dive yet. And now teams are. And teams are just outperforming Immortals. And I don't think so, because I look at Dorado here, Lepelos. They go into Dorado, the final map, where they had to win just to force a draw and then force, the extra map.
They bring in Envy to sub in for agilities.
What are you talking about?
And they bring in Envy, and he plays Doomfist and then Sombra on defense.
For me that just when we don't know what we're doing anymore.
And that honestly seems like to be the case when we watch them. I mean, obviously we've been Immortals fans in the past, but I remember even watching them way back in the day. If we went back to like December, they won in these large, extended, messy fights.
They did.
And they don't seem to be able to cause those anymore. They seem to be the ones getting picked off. They seem to be the ones losing in an extended fight.
You just brought to my memory the Mary Melee in December versus Cloud9 LA, or NA, sorry. And it was more Cloud9 making a rather large mistake, and Immortals capitalizing on it to secure the win for that tournament. Teams aren't making those really big mistakes anymore. More Immortals are making those mistakes, because the whole Cloud9 meme of not contesting points is now slowly becoming, Immortals or Immortals 9.
Another week like that where something else happens to Immortals too. Where's this one?
I have so many questions about this team, Lepelos. Well, one, like someone pointed out, they're running 3 Koreans, right? And believe it or not, yes, they probably speak some English, but the language barrier is there. There's no way to get around it.
Just time. Time is what it takes, and unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be repairing itself quick enough.
It's the communication, and then I want to know who's the leader. Like, who is the one who's deciding how to engage or how to use ultimates or who's talking, because I think about how I play games and how I play off of information that is provided to me, and it just looks as if everybody on Immortals is playing their own game.
Yeah,
And previously their raw skill,
could
you
outdo
know
that. Well,
helped them
and
through and
I've said
levels.
I've said this. I'm pretty sure a North American ladder has started to infect Fate and Envy uh, a little bit, and Kariv. So when you talk about individual mechanical skill being important to decision making, I think that play has started to affect them honestly a little bit.
I
If
mean, you
the
go
team
back
isn't
to
there to carry them through.
you go back to talking about fragging Zins, right? Kareev, not as much as Unko and Boombox, but Kareev on Zen or Anna last season, season 0, was really strong. Fate, he was a very aggressive Winston, towing that fine line between over aggressive, and the synergy for the whole team is not there. We saw the Twitter post from Verbo, I think, who said, "Well, we're out. We're going to focus on the Overwatch League now," and they've got some serious work to do. I mean, all around Levelos, because looking at this, and if I remember correctly, and I'm pretty sure they have a Korean coach and Korean manager, this whole organization for an Overwatch side, they've got work to do. It's not working, and you can't spend $20 million on a team that's performing like this. Just can't.
Yeah,
Something's got to change.
I mean, this might be one of the teams that I've talked about it, and they've talked about it too in a few places. Goes for a 2-team roster, maybe a full Korean side and a full NA side, and you bring out each in certain situations, right? Like,
Interesting.
I think
Interesting.
they may be a team that can do that. Maybe they'll be the first that will do that. Who knows? We're still a bit of a way away from where that can happen. But Jax, that ends our Contenders North America. Let's move over the Atlantic, discuss what's happening in the EU scene, where they had 6
Very
games.
busy weekend, Lepelos in EU. Very busy.
And they absolutely destroyed my pick rate. Jax, I have to say, my pick rate NA really good this week. Pick
Okay,
rate EU not so great.
I think I took Immortals last
You
week
did.
just because but see, I said I'm taking them because I'm trying to support my hometown team, even though previously I picked FNRGFE to win a lot of games and I wasn't surprised at all. But here at Lepelos going into EU, first game of the week, Gigante versus 123. Remind me, did I not pick Gigante?
You did. You
I
did pick
pick
Gigante, and
Okay,
I
I'm
was the
just
one that picked a
I'm just
1,
checking.
2, 3 here.
Just checking.
So, Jax, just quick score rundown here. Let me get this right. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. But not looking good for 1, 2, 3 Jax here on the first day of play. Nepal 2-1 Gigante. Eichenwald 2-1 Gigante. 2-1 Hanamura 1, 2, 3. Dorado 3-2 Gigante. My pick, unfortunately, not coming through for me. We're back to even, Jax, and from there we're all even on our picks because we picked everything else the same.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Gigante, they stumbled last week. Well, not last week. A couple weeks ago against Misfits. But last week I liked how they dealt with Leaf and Hardest and that Doomfizz combo that Gamers Origin was running. Previously, teams had struggled against that. Then this week they're coming up against 123 here. Lynxers and Davin, I'm really liking what they can do. If they can figure out how to deal with Logics, I think they can beat Misfits because
Logic's carrying so many fights. We'll come to that. Misfits
yeah.
having a couple of games this weekend of
But
their own.
Gigante, I think the future is bright for them. But see, Lepos, here's the deal. I just said that, right? Gigante, I think, is some local, electronics store or something in Finland. I have no idea. Lepos, where they don't fit in Overwatch League.
They don't. They'll never fit into the Overwatch League. I just don't know how it will
What
work out.
happens to them in the Lepos? They're one of the oldest teams.
I mean, I think they just okay. So, like, larger question at hand: will Contenders still be a thing once Overwatch League
I think
continues? Right? Like, will there still be prize money in it? What's the deal? These questions yet to be solved.
The problem
Jax.
that I have is that even if Contenders is a thing, there's no relegation in Overwatch League levels. These people are buying slots. So
Yeah.
here's what
So
happens, right?
but if there's enough money for the quote unquote amateur teams and contenders, then you can at least form amateur teams and compete in
Then you end up
contenders.
getting poached Lepelos,
But
right?
I mean
So
that's the goal. So I don't know.
But
Like
then,
if
so teams just get chopped up to pieces. Oh wait, we need a main tank. Wait, is Fraggy available?
Yeah,
What
exactly.
happens to Gigante if you take Fraggy away, Lepelos? He's the heart of the team.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it will be handled in the future. I suspect that buyouts and contracts will be important even at mid levels.
Lawyers is basically what you're saying. Bring in more lawyers.
I mean, where there's money, there's lawyers coming, Jax. Let's not mince words though when it comes to these games. These games, not really close for the most part. Like,
I mean, Lepelos, let's jump into the next series then.
yeah.
Singularity Ninjas versus Bazooka Puppies. Did we take Bazooka Puppies here, or did we take Singularity?
We took Bazooka Puppies.
Tell me we took Singularity because
No.
Bazooka Puppies. Listen, as bad as Immortals is playing, and we talk about teamwork, having skill but no teamwork.
Bazooka Puppies, disappointing.
That team needs to stop. Just literally stop. Well, okay, you're in Contenders. After Contenders, everybody go their own separate ways, back to their own separate countries, because I think they cover
meditate
6 different countries
deeply upon what you've done. Like, because like we see the talent, but it's just really not coming through at all.
Lepelos 2-0 Oasis Singularity, 4-3 Kings Row, 2-1 Hanamura, 3-0 Watch Point. Correct me if I'm wrong. Last week, and I just checked, so you don't have to correct me. Bazooka Puppies versus Cloud9 EU last week, Lepelos. They looked fantastic. We said if Bazooka Puppies can play like this all the time, like they did on that one map against Cloud9, where they won 3-0, then we expect big things from them because they looked very well. You mean to tell me a week later, Lepelos, against Singularity Ninjas? Now, yes, Singularity has made their own roster changes, okay? They lose 3-0 on Watch Point? Singularities is better than Cloud9?
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing. I have to say, I didn't see good games coming out of Rubicon, unfortunately. He's formerly someone that I really liked, so it's hard seeing him have a couple of key mistakes onto it. It's sort of an issue.
Terrible ultimates. I mean,
flip side,
just bad teamwork.
Flip side, Poppy Fresh showing up here first for Singularity, like really, really strong number of places. Calyx also doing pretty good job, I think, on his Lucio for Team Singularity. So the two of those guys.
This Singularity's team looking better than the one that had my boy Fraggy. I mean, Fraggy on it.
Not Mr. Beck.
I mean,
Yeah, it's disappointing, Jax. We picked Bazooka Puppies. We're both disappointed. Let's go talk about the next round, Singularity for E United, where we both picked E United. The rundown of the score here, Jax. We have on Nepal again 2-0 Singularity. Nambani 3-2 Singularity. Oh man, Volskaya 2-1 Singularity, and Watchpoint Gibraltar 3-2 Singularity.
What? No, E United won.
Nope.
Did they not win?
They got destroyed, demolished 4-0. We picked wrong 2 times. We bet against Singularity twice in a row, Jax. We got roasted by these guys.
Lepelos. Are back-to-back 4-0s for Singularity
Jax,
over Bazooka Puppies and E United?
Moment that describes my feeling about E United right now. End of Shrine, Nepal. When Singularity, in a fight where they're working so hard, Fisher working so hard, and then Unfixed launches his self-destruct. Sorry, I mean he stands and presses Q and forgets to hit shift in time.
Lepelos.
Not hitting your combos, kind of a key issue. You're not going to win games that way. You're not going to get a random self-destruct that way.
Lepelos,
That's how it feels about E United.
I want to talk about Nambani. Because on Nambani, E United defense, Lepelos, they brought out that damn Torp joint.
and what did it do this time, Jax? What did it do this time?
I think I was watching it with I don't know if was I watching it with my buddy Will Jenkins.
You definitely linked it to me.
I linked it to him. I linked it to many people.
Yeah.
Because this defense was terrible and it never recovered, Lepelos. At the end of Nambani, 3 minutes and 44 seconds in the time bank for Team Singularity.
Jax, I'm officially going to say Torbjorn on Nambani spread defense does not work.
See, I told you.
I'm not saying Torbjorn can't work.
After Season 3 of Apex, where Lunatic-Hai got away with it, when Toby got away with it, I said,
no, but they weren't doing.
Think that they're Lunatic-Hai and they're gonna make this work. Well, wait a minute, Toby and Lunatic-Hai did it. They won a major championship with Torbjorn on Numbani, so we're gonna do it.
Yeah. So here again,
you're
Jax, I go back to the execution of the strategy. You can go and look at this, but I'm pretty sure if you watch where he sets up and you look where the team is positioned, everyone is everywhere. You're basically saying, hey, take your pick about which player you want to kill first.
They came in and killed the turret instantly.
Exactly, because your turret was on the front line there on the outside stairs, like you know the one I mean, right? Yeah. So he was out there. Torbjorn was out there. They had, I think, a soldier that was on the back upper side. They had, like you just go back and look at it, you'll see that they're spread out all over the location. Like
ZP
zone
said
defense,
historically,
man, not good.
Numbani is EU United's map, Leplos, and here they got destroyed on it.
Absolutely destroyed. Well, that, as you said, for you, that also describes the series. I think,
Leplos, from there they go to Volskaya, which is another one of, maybe not historically, but recently, well, okay.
They just fell apart. They fell apart on B defense, Jax. They just fell apart. Like, I mean, A defense, like, whatever. You lose there, it happens, okay. Singularity, long, weird poke on B point, and all of a sudden, E United just aren't there anymore. Like, and I go back to what I was just saying on Numbani, which is when you're spread out and you're not playing tight, you're gonna get picked off. I don't know what else to say other than playing individually cost E United the B point here on Volskaya.
And some terrible, across the whole series, because they go to Watch Point and lose 3-2 there.
BYOC finally showing up, by the way, a little bit there to get them into third.
Throughout the entire series and the entire season, terrible ultimates from United, where I'm again forced to question who is the shot caller for this team, because they need to take a series. They need to bring in an analyst, and then they need to go through every single ultimate that they use, Leplos, how they used it, when, why, and everybody, everybody explain their thought processes when they use their ultimates, because they're trash.
On the flip side, though, Singularity showing through, like, improving week to week right now. This is what you want. You want to be on the up and up, and they are on the up.
They changed the team around, and they were 0-3, looking like they're gonna be out. Now they have a fighting chance.
Yeah, they're 2-3 right now. They're beating E United right now on the standings.
Leplos, E United 0-4, Bazooka Puppies 0-5.
Yeah, this is
Boombox, Morty, Sharik, Cruz, Unfixed, and Valutaya. By the way, Sharik, please help that man, because he's still respawning. Valutaya, Leplos, where's his consistency gone? He was never consistent. I've been seeing a lot of hype.
He showed up
for people talk about how great his tracer is. Tracer was always just okay to me. But where is it gone?
It's not as, like, he's less consistent than he used to be, and that's saying something, Jax, because back when we used to watch him a year ago, that was a complaint about him.
Don't make me go back to season 1 OGN.
I'm not.
On Hollywood when he brought out that damn Roadhog. Pardon my language.
Yeah,
he brought out that terrible Roadhog, and they threw the game.
He definitely has to work on his play. Jax, let's go ahead and start talking about Misfits versus Gamers Origin. This one, Jax, a lot closer.
What a series this was here, Lepelos.
A lot closer.
4-0 for Misfits, right?
Probably
Misfits has been dominating.
For contenders, both NA and EU, this would probably be, if you had one game to watch, go watch Misfits versus Gamers Origin. I think this is the series to watch.
Misfits did not dominate 4-0 then, Lepelo.
Absolutely not. No, it was a close. Misfits starting out well. It looks great. Oasis 2-0 for them, 136-100-0 on the scoreline. So nice. A great place to start.
He's still getting rocket kills, man. Justice is continuing to rain from above.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Gamers Origin is gonna be feeling that one.
Fair check not met. Safe to say, fair check not met at all.
Yeah, Gamers Origin definitely going to be tested on that in the future. That fair play coming out to wreck them there. But Kings Row, also going the side of Misfits there. Tavik again showing up there, I have to say. Hanamura.
No surprise. The first two maps went a lot like I thought they would. Actually, it didn't, because I expected Kings Row to be complete domination for Misfits. It's that map is set up for them in a big way, but Gamers Origin put in some serious work.
Leaf
Hanamura.
Leaf Doomfist Jax.
Listen, we have said
Scramble King.
Last week, Gigante, I forget who it was. I'm trying. There was. I wish I had saved all these links. Someone, I think it might have been Hardest, said on his stream that he felt they had a better chance of beating Misfits than they did Gigante the week before, because they, their read on Gigante was not good. whereas they felt they had a pretty good read on Misfits.
I mean, pretty good lead, good enough to get them Hanamura Jacks. Dorado, another close round. Jacks, Dorado scoreline. Okay, so I should say Hanamura was pretty close to you. It was 2-1 coming through with a scramble hold after what's his name? Logic set up a really good attack there for Misfits. Gamers Origin able to scramble a defense, huge.
Lepelos, the Doomfist check was not met.
Yeah, no, not there.
Misfits. And we talked about Immortals and Rogue, the other team struggling because they're unable to get the first picks and then set it up the team fight 6v5 in their favor. Here on Hanamura, Leaf's ability, Lepelos, to just get kills on Doomfist. Because he gets a kill, and then that fight is now 6v5 for them, and you're going to win, unless something magical happens. And it didn't happen, and so Misfits was held here. And by the way, some typical 2CP BS again, by the way, because Misfits actually should have capped that the first time. It's just 2CP. But then they were unable to deal with the Doomfist. Then we go into Dorado, Lepelos, and Misfits just dropped the map. And so you say to yourself, maybe there's a weakness. Okay, maybe we're starting to see a chink in the armor.
Yeah, definitely. And well, that said, Misfits still making good time. Minute 13 on the clock when they made it through here. Jacks, hard struggle for Gamers Origin making it through the second phase and the final phase. Like huge plays across their lineup. Whether you want to say it's I think Ben Best and Poco coming through there a couple of times for them. Gamers Origin do make it an OT. They go on attack, and Jax Hardquist and Ben Best again going off allows them to get into the second phase. Jax, there's a moment I want to talk about though.
Oh, Dan Lepelos, I've already got it in my notes.
You go ahead and I'm just gonna take a quick pause here for a second.
I literally have right here. The Overwatch League cannot go live. The season cannot start until they have resumed from replay or something similar in place. That simple. It cannot.
So
this was a travesty.
What happened for the record here? First phase defense for Gamers Origin here, and I didn't go back to look at what his ult percentage was, but what happened in this defense? Misfits put into a bad spot, but Pippo, the Lucio player, gets a DC.
Lepelos. Listen, Misfits had the superior time bank. So going into the second attack phase, they had the advantage. With Gamers Origin capturing first point and making it through to the middle of second, it made things rather interesting. Misfits, Lepelos, the pressure, I think the pressure was actually getting to them here.
Yeah.
Because they've had it I won't say pretty easy, but they've dominated people this season. They started out this series against Gamers Origin 2-0. They dominated them here. Hanamura, like I said, we saw a chink in the armor right there where, wait a minute, Misfits may not be that great. Then you go through Dorado, okay. After the first few attacks, they're fine. Then you come here, like, crap, we only have like a minute and change to get through first point. Not the easiest thing in the world to do.
Yeah, and they're held up.
They were struggling
a little bit. Yeah,
they were struggling mightily. And so now we come to the point where you're telling me Pippo Lepelos, the Lucio player for Gamers Origin, disconnects. Well, I mean, okay, that's fine. He'll just come right back in. I mean, yeah, sure, he came right back in. But Lepelos, what was he missing? He was missing the sound barrier that he had accumulated.
Not
he
only
had
that,
sound barrier when he disconnected Lepelos.
Yeah.
What else is missing? Pippo himself is actually missing from the fight, Lepelos, because he has to come from spawn. Yes, Lucio has speed. There's still travel time. He has to travel from spawn without sound barrier to link back up with his team, who is still there because they paused it. Now, his team is there where they all were, Lepelos, but he's not where he was with what he had at the time.
Yeah. And it cost them. Like, Misfits were just immediately, like, they had their pause. They were like, we know what we're going to do. So they come back into the game and wreck.
Did you see what they did, Lepelos?
The 5 members.
I don't blame Misfits. They did what anybody else would do. They sped in. Tavik had the Dragon Blade. And he says, they don't. I know for a fact they don't have sound barrier. I'm popping Blade. Logix goes off. No sound barrier. I mean, because, sound barrier, depending on timing, can counter a pulse bomb, depending if things work out in your favor. And Misfits, who struggled, Lepelos, they take the fight. They take the first point. And you're saying, is this really how it's going to end for Gamers Origin? Is this how they're going to be
That
screwed
was, I mean, it was
out of
so
beating
horrible.
Misfits?
Like, I can't believe that this happened, Jax. That was so bad.
Lepelos,
Thank
you
goodness though.
listen, Lepelos,
They had the
you
other
mean to
5
tell
vaults.
me that these people are spending $20 million and someone's internet going out? Although we've seen that at LAN people disconnect.
We've seen people
know?
disconnect on LAN, so like this is not out of the realm of possibility on their LAN servers that they've set up. And it probably doesn't. I don't care if the most secure one, quote unquote, will be Blizzard Arena when that releases or whatever. Like if they can't solve these issues, I don't care how secure your servers are in the local area network of those stadiums or whatever. You're still going to have this issue, and you don't have a place to recover.
Cannot be allowed.
Gamers Origin, though, able to maintain good composure here, leveraging the ult advantage that they saved from that previous loss of a fight. They didn't toss their ultimates away.
I was worried, Lepelos.
They came back 5-1 ult advantage to secure that map and
the
hold
gates went up, and Manitin with a random. And this is not the first time because we're short on time, but he did it previously on this map and in this series. Manitin throws a diva bomb from across the world and kills 2, and kills both supports, Lepelos.
Yeah.
So Pippo, who lost his ultimate, he's still struggling to even make his way back to a sound barrier quickly because he's just dying. When I saw the self-destruct come out, I'm saying, no, this is not fair. And then you get a proper Zarya with a good Graviton Surge. You get good cleanup by Gamers Origin, Lepelos. You get a 2-2 draw, forcing a map 5.
Yeah, map 5 going to Ilios. Best of 3 format for this one. Jax, unfortunately,
Lepelos.
King of the Hill. But Pharmacy coming back out, Jax. We mentioned the fair check. Oh my goodness, it's not just the fair check. You got the hard quest check too to see
Lepelos,
if you
you
cannot
can't do
fall
that.
into the well
Do that.
by
Lepelos, you
yourself.
can't.
Oh my goodness, that was
Lepelos,
such
that's
a moment.
That
Such
is
a
a
moment.
throw.
That is
You-
such a
listen.
throw. He threw himself into the well, man.
Lepelos,
Threw himself into the well.
Can't. The second he died, I knew that round was over.
Yeah, I'm
He
pretty
went-
sure
he
everyone
had
there
pulse
did.
bomb. He went into the well. They tried to pull it back, Lepelos, but you can't. Again, we talk about the 5v6 advantage. When you kill yourself, you're throwing the game and allowing the other team to win.
That looks like one of
And
my plays, Jax. That was so bad.
I don't. Lepelos, I'm stunned by that. So well goes to Misfits. You go to the Ruins, Lepelos, and
Tavik showing up. I have to say, Tavik. The one play I want to talk about here would be Tavik clutching it out with the Dragon Blade and bringing back all the work that Leaf did, and then winning the 1v1 versus Leaf to
Say that as if
secure
you're
the point.
surprised.
I mean,
On
it's
Overwatch
great.
One,
I
how
love
many
watching
times have we
Tavik.
covered Tavik with Dragon Blade just doing hero? He pops hero.
Exactly.
Goes hero mode.
Exactly. And it's great seeing that he still has that capability to do that. Here he does it, skiers around for 134, essentially for Misfits there, and they take the series.
Lepelos.
They take the series. Jax, I'm just really, really glad. I'm really, really glad that it did not end based on that DC earning a 3-1 victory for Misfits. Instead, they end up winning in the tiebreaker 3-2 for the series victory. The way that it should have been based on how things were looking at Dorado defense for Gamers Origin. But man, that was
Hardest was right. They played better against Misfits than they did against Gigante last week.
Yeah, but Misfits really looking strong.
Struggled
these
with
days.
the Doomfist. Previously Misfits was the one doing the fisting, and now they didn't meet the check for me. If
But
teams going
making a
forward
check.
can execute Doomfist against it, but see, the thing is, the problem with Doomfist v Doomfist is like, well, who gets the kill first?
Yeah.
Who gets this random pop up, rocket punch that kills someone randomly out of nowhere to snowball in your favor?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's very much some reminiscent of like Widow picks too, right, Jax? Like it's very much like if Widow v Widow is not your thing, then Doom v Doom is probably not your thing either, right? Like for that reason.
Congrats to Misfits Lepelos. They stay undefeated. They play again this week. They play in the very next game, which, oh my goodness, I just looked at the clock. We were way over time.
Yeah, we are. We're going to move through the next one quickly. Don't worry about that. I do want to say Gamers Origin's weakness of Farah has to be exploited by other teams in the future.
I mean, Hardest hardest is the McCree. They struggled. They struggled to meet the fair check. Like I said, with Doomfist, if I saw a Doomfist weakness for Misfits, definitely saw a fair weakness here for Gamers Origin. We'll see.
Jax, let's move on to the next game. Speaking of weakness, Misfits versus Bazooka Puppies. Quick score rundown for this one. Perhaps to no surprise, Oasis 2-0, Kings Row 4-3, Hanamura 2-1, Watchpoint Gibraltar 4-3. All of those going for the side of Misfits as a 4-0 Bazooka Puppies here.
See, this is what I talk about with Bazooka Puppies and consistency. Last week, beat Cloud9 3-0 Watchpoint. Then they lose to Singularity Ninjas 3-0. And then they go 4-3 against Misfits? Come on. Like, I'm sorry. Just look at this one map that they've played 3 times in the last 2 weeks, Lepelos. You get 3 random results like this? No. Come on, team. No.
Yeah, you don't know, like, even on Oasis, okay, so they get a 199 round on Oasis too, and you're just like, okay, like, what's going on? It's like they clearly have some skills, but they're inconsistent within a match too. I mean, Kings Row, ended up being a pretty close match, except for the fact that they couldn't push. Like the time what differential was not too great making it through all the phases, right? Like It was something like 19 seconds left on for Bazooka Puppies and 51 seconds left on for Misfits, right? So that's not so horrible, but they looked uncertain with their attack. And I have to say, Ube, again, Hanzo on Kings Row not looking great.
Yeah.
A bit better in this match than he had previously. But yeah, not looking great. In fact, you can just basically say that about Misfits overall, or sorry, Bazooka Puppies overall.
General, pretty much, man. Like I said, a lot of talent on that team. Teamwork not there, and I mean, honestly, when you look at the various nationalities on the team, you just have to assume that there is some serious communication issues. That takes us into the last game of EU Lepelos and last game of Contenders for the week. Team Gigante versus Cloud9 EU. Pretty big game here.
Yeah.
Especially for Cloud9, but also for Gigante, because they want to stay, like they had to loss to Misfits.
Yeah.
You don't want to have too many losses because that opens you up to being, surpassed on the top 4 and missing out on the playoffs. So.
And here we are. We both picked Cloud9 for this one, Jax.
Did I?
Yeah.
No, I think you're mistaken.
No, I wrote it down. If somebody wants to correct me on that, you can let us know.
Okay,
but I'm pretty sure.
Well,
so quick scoreline here: Lijiang Tower 2-1 going to the side of Cloud9, off to a good start. Kings Row 2-1 for Gigante. Volskaya 2-1 Gigante, and then 1-0 Jax, 1-0 Gibraltar. Gigante.
I want to touch on that Gibraltar thing in a minute, but Lepelos, I'm looking here, and Gigante, I didn't write it down, but I'm looking on over.gg here. It says that Gigante met the distance that Cloud9 set with 229 seconds left.
On Gibraltar?
No, on Kings Row.
Oh, on Kings Row.
Sorry, Kings Row. So Cloud9 attacked first. They made it through the first checkpoint. They couldn't cap second. And then Gigante pushed that distance with 229 seconds left. Holy crap. From there, Lepelos, you go to Volskaya 2-1. Again, not too surprising. They beat E-United on Volskaya previously because of some random rocket punch from Nevix. But the big thing for me, Lepelos, is that losers pick the maps that you go to.
Yeah.
And I've previously talked about Bazooka Puppies on Watchpoint Gibraltar. And last week, they faced Cloud9 on Watchpoint. They beat Cloud9 3-0
on
Watchpoint Gibraltar.
Here, Cloud9 going back to it. And do we have to say anything other than their stagnant attack?
Lepelos, why would they go back?
They basically gave up a map. They gave up a map.
Previously, last week, you didn't even cap first. And then
you want to go back this week to it.
In your game-deciding map, you go back to Watchpoint?
Yeah, I think that was a loss on a strategic level.
That's horrible.
I don't know who decided that, if there was one decision or if it was a team decision. It was a wrong decision either way. And they need to look at the larger game.
That's a throw level.
They need to look at the larger game.
Wow, dude.
You're talking about an analyst position here that they need to get
you don't even
have
to be
reads.
An analyst. Are you kidding? You didn't cap the point against Bazooka Puppies. You gonna do it against Gigante? No. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing here, Jax.
Okay.
Cloud9 losing badly, 3-1 to Gigante. That unfortunately puts
That's huge
them.
for Cloud9 Lepolos.
Yeah,
That
puts
puts
them
them in
at
fifth
2-2.
place. Only top 4 make the
Well,
playoffs.
they're tied with Gamers Origin at 2-2, but not having as good of a
The
map
map
scoreline.
scoreline goes in Gamers Origin favor, Lepolos.
Yeah. So you're in a bit of trouble.
Lepolos,
There's
why do you go to Gibraltar? You suck on Gibraltar.
Cloud9 has 3 games remaining, so they do have chances to make it up. But Gamers Origin also 3 games remaining. Big one upcoming. We'll talk about this in our predictions, but
Lepolos, they play
this week,
Gamers Origin. Okay,
yeah,
but yeah.
yeah, we'll talk about it up and coming. Before we do, Jack, we have a lot of other stuff to cover.
don't have
Next
time.
on
Oh my
the
God.
list, we have the Overwatch Pacific Championship Season 2 going on.
What a week.
We talked
What a
about
week this was in OPC.
all
Huge
these games going on, Jax. I know I watched a couple today, trying to get caught up on a few of them. I think you watched a few others that I did
watched
not.
a bunch of games. Some of them I fell asleep on because I watched it live at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning.
So hard to
Lepolos.
stay up sometimes.
And then I watched VODs. But what a week this was in OPC.
Yeah, we're talking about a number of games, like Ardiant playing 3 games this week against AHQ.
I do want to put before we jump into that, I want to say OPC does a double round robin. So
Each team
the
plays
end
each
of,
other like twice or four times.
This is
or twice.
They play only once.
Yeah, they play. So it's a double round robin. So they in total throughout the season they play
Yeah.
each team twice.
Twice, yeah. But this is the first. This is the end of the first series. Why they do it? Why they split up like that? Who knows? But this is the end of the first series. So this is the end of the first round robin. A lot of seeding. I mean, it's not playoff time yet, but this
Jax,
is
can we
pretty
come out with a big result first, which is to say Equivalent Supreme still sitting at 0-7, and the destruction of Japan esports in the OPC continues. We'll start
Japan
there.
Has a long ways to go. Levels. Machi Esports beating 11 Supreme 3-0. At least they tried.
At least they tried. Yeah.
On Li Zhang, 4-3 Nambani, 5-4 Horizon Lunar Colony, but Libelant Supreme.
Struggling as much as Detonator Gold or what was the other one? Sun Sister, yeah, did last season. Okay, well that's out of the way, Jack. We have all these actual interesting games. We wanted to see if Ardiant could stack up against some of the other top teams.
This is what I was looking forward to here. Yeah.
And did you want to go through game by game just a little bit, or just like scoreline?
The score here. We start out. So AHQ
was their first game against Ardiant.
Around the third and fourth slot for AHQ in OPC. Ardiant absolutely destroyed them. There's no other way to put it. 2-0 Li Zhang, 3-1 Hollywood, 2-1 Temple of Anubis. Yep.
And I mean that continued. Yeah. Like I remember turning the next Ardiant game on when you linked me it. It was the Ardiant versus Blank Esports. Blank showing up very well. They're placed second. They've got to the grand finals in the season 1. Blank
Team
here.
Australia, well, not
no
Team
longer
Australia anymore, but 4 out of the 6 of Team Australia.
Yeah, Team Blank in this Ardiant versus Blank matchup. Unfortunately, coming out pretty.
Leplos again. Let's just not mince words here, Leplos. They got destroyed. Like AHQ 2-0 Li Zhang Tower, 3-1 Kings Row, 2-1 Temple of Anubis.
You're not even close. I turned off the series when it was live because I was going to bed, and it was putting me to sleep how much they were getting dominated. So Blank not able to do anything there.
Well, what about Flash Wolves then, Levels? Last game of the week for them, Ardiant versus Flash Wolves, Team Taiwan Taipei. Season 1 champions. Did they step up?
Yeah, well, they did more than these other teams, you could say at least. Flash Wolves able to take one map. Jax, just one map.
So they lost.
One map. They lost. 2-0 Nepal for Ardiant. Nambani 3-2 Flash Wolves. Hanamura 2-1. Dorado 2-1 for Ardiant. Jax, that's a pretty strong scoreline for the side of Ardiant. Even if they lost a map, you look at that Dorado and Hanamura result and Nepal.
So I watched a fair bit of this one on Nepal. The tanks for Ardiant completely outplayed Flash Wolves. Zonda stepped up huge for Flash Wolves on Soldier. Bacon Jack kind of a quiet round here, but Zonda played really well Leplos. He was under a lot of pressure because his front line could not hang with the enemy front line. On Nambani, I actually linked this to you. A very hectic ending here where Ardiant almost snuck in Nambani to cap it out. in a fight that went over a minute.
Yeah,
but
and shouldn't have gotten that far. Like Flash Wolves just absolutely
we talk
giving
about
up
the
in the
picks,
fight.
right? I mean, how many picks did DM get, Lepelos?
It was ridiculous. I mean, like positioning errors out of Flash Wolves, like all over the place. Like when the time is going down and there's Doomfist coming in, and you're low on health as a soldier, do not stand in front of the freaking cart. Right?
I don't know what he was doing.
Man,
he doesn't know either. That's why he died.
Yeah. He has time to contemplate that on the longer respawn screen in OT. I can't believe how long that OT push lasted. Thank goodness that they had the poise to come back and at least hold before that full sneak, but not enough to win the round.
Hanamura, all Ardent Lepelos. 5 minutes and 57 seconds left in the time bank when they capped it out on Hanamura. Flash Wolves, Erster is not being dealt with at all on Doomfist. And when they went on the attack, we talked about Leaf and what he did for Gamers Origin against Misfits on Hanamura. More of the same here in a different region with Erster and Ardent Lepelos. I mean, here's the deal. Doomfist, I'm broken record here. Doomfist's ability to immediately, effectively ends the fight when he gets the first kill. I mean, yes, the team might push in because you're not going to be able to disengage from that, right? So maybe if you're lucky, you can force out an ultimate or something, or build ultimate charge yourself. But the fight is over, and Erster did that repeatedly for the map 3 win. And then you go to Dorado. Dorado reminded me a lot of Nabani, where Flash Wolves was able to prevent Ardent from getting the final cap. Ardent unable to use their ultimates to push it through. But Flash Wolves' own attack Lepelos, they had 5 minutes and 15 seconds left to push the second point. They could not do it. They could not cap the second point at all. They made it halfway through second phase with 5 minutes left. They didn't make it to the end. They made it to the courthouse where they were held. Zonda, who I praised for his Nepal play on Soldier, he had 3, if not 4 tactical visors in the second phase Lepelos, and they still made no progress from it. Bacon Jack, notice I haven't said his name very much because he's rather quiet. Sadly, because I'm a big fan of Flash Wolves Lepelos, Ardent outplayed them over the course of the series.
Yeah, definitely. They looked very strong in that one. Jax, there's a couple of other scorelines I want to run down and a couple other things. First one, did not watch this game, but result I wanted to talk about, Flash Wolves versus Mega Thunder. Jax, 3-1 Flash Wolves here. Flash Wolves dropping Ilios, the first map here, to Mega Thunder. Sort of an issue. I mean, Mega Thunder, not a great team. They're, what, like 6?
Mega Thunder, believe it or not, Mega Thunder is the team that brought in the Americans. They brought in Moffitt and...
well, whatever they are, they're sitting down at 7th, tied for 7th, with a 2-5 scoreline, able to take a map off Flash Wolves. I mentioned that because a game I did watch, which happened actually before this one,
okay.
Flash Wolves versus Blank, basically similar story there. Blank able to take the series on Nepal, and then Flash Wolves show up for Eichenwald, Lunar Colony, Dorado.
So Flash Wolves showing some King of the Hill weaknesses then.
Yeah, they absolutely are. A couple of other things I wanted to mention in that matchup because I did watch that one. Lunar Colony, Jax, ridiculous time. I mentioned this to you. 609 for Flash Wolves on their attack. You're not going to win, I'm sorry, Blank, if you're going to allow the speed of Flash Wolves to like get that time. They had 525 on their second attack, Flash Wolves did, to get a third of the point on B point. So they had to make a third on B point for their second attack, and they had 525 for that. That's a ridiculous amount of time. No, they did. They dominated the map on attack. Their defense gave up all that, but their offense was like on point. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say there about Flash Wolves.
What I want to talk about Flash Wolves, since we just brought it up, Lepelos, I just happened to look at their results throughout this season so far. Week 1, Flash Wolves played AHQ. They won 3-1. You know the map they lost was Lijiang Tower, 2-0. Week 2, they played Hong Kong Attitude. This is Flash Wolves. You know what maps they lost? They lost Lijiang Tower, 2-1. They lost Horizon Lunar Colony, 1-0.
Wow.
Against Machi Esports Lepelos, again in week 2, they lost Lijiang Tower. They lost Temple of Anubis. So then you come to this week, they lost Nepal to Blank, and then they lost again their Ilios to Mega Thunder, and then we talked about their loss to Ardent here. Flash Wolves has not taken a single King of the Hill map this season, Lepelos.
And also struggling a little bit
on 2CP.
On 2CP. And
Lepelos, you can't give up 2 game modes.
I mean, you does that put into context now the Ardent Flash Wolf series where they lose 2-0 Nepal and they lose 2-1 on Hanamura, Jax.
And you know what? I mean, they took the Nabani payload. They played them rather well. They were able to hold them from completing on Dorado. So they played their payload okay. Their own execution was weak, but then
you're giving up 2 game modes if you're not able to do it.
Esports and Mega Thunder, the teams they drop maps to, they're what 6th and 7th in the league.
Yeah, and they're dropping maps, and that's not what we would want to say.
The glaring weakness. You can't
coming from the former grand champions of the league.
On King of the Hill. Not if you want to win a major tournament.
Yeah,
Jax, not gonna work.
Let's go ahead and talk a little bit. Maybe not the series overall, although really close series, really fun to watch.
Really important game here because only 4 teams make the playoffs.
Yes.
And we have AHQ and Hong Kong Attitude
right there,
who are they're in
close.
The mix with in that 2-3-4 spot.
Going into this matchup, I think they were 3-3 each.
Yeah,
so this was maybe they weren't 3-3 going into the matchup, but this week had the potential to differentiate these teams, including a head-to-head. And this was a really, really close head-to-head, Jax. It was really good to watch. If I was going to watch one series from this previous week, despite all the build-up about Ardent and Blank and Flash Wolves, it was actually the Hong Kong Attitude versus AHQ matchup here that you should go back and watch. It was a really, really good series. I don't want to go into everything. Let's run down scorelines quickly.
Talk so much. I actually have notes on this series.
We are going to talk a little bit about it, Jax, before we do, but I want to get through the scoreline. Okay. It starts off strong, HQ 2-0 over Hong Kong Attitude on Ilios. Then Hong Kong Attitude respond 3-0.
On Hollywood, I want to say Mui, whatever, however you say his name. He plays McCree for Hong Kong Attitude. Fantastic work here, Lepolos. I mean, at one point when they were on the attack, he got 4K non-dead-eye, just straight left clicks to clear the point. Fantastic work.
He showed up actually a number of times in the series. Third map, Jax Hanamura. Can we talk about the defense here coming out of the first defense on the side of Hong Kong Attitude?
Should give a little context here. AHQ was on defense first. Hong Kong Attitude did cap it out, but it took them into overtime. They had no time bank left, Lepolos. So they go on the attack here. I don't even know what to say about this. Lepolos,
coming out of Hong Kong Attitude.
This is a Renegades composition.
I mean, no, it's gone further. They've gone into the labs, Jax, and they've said, you know what we should change? We should change it even further. They went with Ryan Orisa, Torbjorn Bastion, Mercy Anna.
Huh?
I mean,
Bastion,
Mercy, Anna. It's a very, very strange composition coming out here.
To be fair, Lepolos, I actually have here in my notes, as Lepolos would say, they bought time.
They did buy a huge amount of time, right?
Yes.
But they didn't really execute well the dismount from that composition, did they?
The casters covered it very well. I don't even know what their names are, but they talked about the biggest weakness to this composition that Hong Kong Attitude ran was immobility, Lepolos. You get out-rotated very easily, which is what happened. And from there, the snowball was real. 4 minutes and 25 seconds left in the time bank as they cap it out.
Yeah, and which is to say, it's a good amount of time that you used up on that 8-point hold. But, I mean, I'll just point out, Sheolun, their Mercy player, which is usually a DPS player, going down a number of times early in the fight.
Yeah,
you can't do that. You can't do that. That's like a juror being picked off on Renegades.
We didn't see it. He was coming back off a respawn, and he dies to Lucio. I'm pretty sure Lucio for AHQ was spawn camping because they know Mercy's got to come back. I would not have come back on Mercy. There's no way for you to come back from. Because the way the teams were situated, they had their Bastion, and by Bastion I mean I'm calling their entire comp Bastion, not just Bastion. But the turret, the Rhine, the Orisa, they're all on the point. They're not. You can't really move that. So when you die and you're coming off of respawn, there's no one there to help you because your team is all on the point, and the enemy team is between you and them. So his Mercy comes back out, Lepolos. How is he gonna get from the spawn room to the point?
Jax,
There's no one for him to fly to, Lepolos.
That's when you need the changes to the Mercy so that you can fly in the air and just avoid all that, right?
I
Like,
mean, you still got to get ultimate levels. He didn't have
no,
ultimate.
he didn't have ultimate. As I said, he went down early, ends up costing them. They didn't
Some
take Hanamura.
serious problems with this composition here, man.
I agree with you. There's serious execution of the composition was poor as well. And I also agree with some conceptual issues with that composition too.
But
Okay.
AHQ took map Hanamura Lepelos in a 2-1 series.
Yeah, they are in 2-1. They managed to hold out very well. Hong Kong Attitude do in Dorado on the second point. They were able to push it through all the way and hold out in the second phase. So that's a 3-1 scoreline for them there to
I just want to give a shout out to CQB, the Mercy for Hong Kong Attitude in the final phase, pushing through. He guns down the enemy Winston who tried to dive him, and then gets the revive gets the 2-man tempo revive going, which allows the push to keep to sustain itself all the way to the end, where Shaolin monster tracer play, like 4, 5, possibly 6 in a rolling fight, not all at once, but at least 5 kills in the final sequence that allowed them to cap it out. But it was all off of CQB gunning down the Winston who dove him and then getting the revive to push it through. AHQ Lepelos, I talk about Flash Wolf's weakness on King of the Hill. AHQ showing payload weakness again. Previously it was Hollywood where they didn't even cap a point. Here it's Dorado where they were held in the middle of second.
Strangely though, you know, that weakness on payload doesn't really show on King's Row. HQ, while they let Hong Kong Attitude make that checkpoint with the payload, they show up huge with a pharmacy hold really, really early in that phase for such a long time to shut down Hong Kong Attitude from even getting into that third phase at all.
Sombra and Doomfist checks were not met by Hong Kong Attitude. Dizzy.
No. One second. The pharmacy coming out of the side of HQ here was just really strong. Because HQ was on defense first, right? So yeah. they managed to hold just inside that third. It was Hong Kong Attitude with Mui on Sombra and Shaolin on Doomfist on their attack coming through for Hong Kong Attitude to secure them that win and prevent HQ from making the cap distance.
Yeah, but when they were attacking, AHQ's defense with the Sombra and the Doomfist did good work. Dizzy, I liked his fair play. He was getting kills. He was getting barrage kills. But the tempo revives that worked for them on Dorado weren't working here. I talked about the 2-man revive to keep the tempo going on Dorado that allowed them to cap it out. Here, they would revive and then they would die. And then later on in the second phase, they would revive, 2-man revive, and then they would die. But AHQ Lepelos, they don't make it. Kings Road, they get 1 point. Sorry, I'm on the wrong tab here. AHQ's payload game is just not. I mean, if you take a look at it, right, 3 out of the 5 games in the series were on hybrid or straight payload. Hollywood, they lost 3-0. Dorado, they lost 3-1. Kings Road, they lost 3-1. I mean, I talk about Flash Wolves being bad on King of the Hill and sometimes 2CP. And not just cede a game mode to the enemy. You can't. You have to be competitive in each game mode. And here, with 3 out of the 5 being on hybrid or on straight payload, you most definitely can't have that be your weakness. Yeah. You'll lose every game. And as a result, Lepelos, we go into the first split. Ardiant first in OPC, 7-0, 21-1 map line. So Flash Wolves the only one to take a map off of them. Flash Wolves themselves, Lepelos, are 6-1, 19-11 scoreline. So, I mean, you take a look at the 21-1 is impressive. The 19-11, if we go back to the previous season, Flash Wolves, I believe, went on a 35-0 win streak. Win streak level.
Their dominance is gone. Their dominance is dead,
We talk about the King of the Hill weakness that they have. Yeah. Every series they play, they lose King of the Hill.
Well, so, I mean, you can't drop 11 maps and feel like you're as dominant as you used to be. Like, they're still stronger than the competition, but
except for Ardiant. I mean, Hong Kong Attitude Lepelos, as a result of them beating Blank in week 2, they're in 3rd, and Blank Esports is in 4th. I did want to point out, as soon as I can find it, if I can find it in time, One of the losses that Hong Kong Attitude had was to Mega Thunder, the seventh ranked team in the league. 2-1 on Nepal, 4-3 on Kings Row, 1-0 on Volskaya. So Hong Kong Attitude, again, there's some consistency issues here. You can't beat, you lose to Mega Thunder in 1 week and then beat blank the next week, and then play AHQ so close the week after that. Going forward into the second round robin, Hong Kong Attitude, I need to see more stability levels. I need to see more consistency. And with Flash Wolves, got to win King of the Hill. You've got to.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of things that they're going to have to improve on if they're going to want to challenge Ardiant for the top spot. Not looking likely, though, in the second season, Jax. It looks like it's going to be a walkthrough for them to get that final spot. Jax, let's go ahead and move it beyond.
Crap, we're so overscheduled.
We're gonna talk about something else in the Pacific region. That's OGN Apex Season 4 continuing this week. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. I did watch...
I did as well.
I did watch the Lunatic-Hai versus Runaway, and it is concerning. Meta Athena. It is concerning to watch Lunatic-Hai drop a map to the Meta Athena.
I mean, okay. We should point out Ryu Jaehong was not playing for Lunatic-Hai. They ran Guido on the main support slot with Eska and Who Are You running the DPS slots. And I think Who Are You's Genji is insane. At a time when I think Shadowburn is sometimes Cruz, but Cruz is still losing his games for E United. We're not seeing a lot of really good Genji play. Then again, I say that, but Jaru's been playing some really good Genji. So for Envision. But Who Are You? Just so impressive on the Genji.
Yeah, definitely. And coming through again, he's showing that he's one of the top tier Genjis for a reason. Yeah, I don't know what else to say other than, it looked like it was a pretty simple win for Lunatic-Hai other than their drop on Helios.
After they dropped the map,
yeah. Esco bring out...
They had their timeout, they talked things over, and then they won 3-1.
Yeah, you bring out a Mei Doom combo on King's Row, like, you're probably still feeling pretty good at that point, to be honest.
Lunatic-Hai has this fascination with Mei. I don't know why.
I don't know why.
But Leplos, we might as well just jump into the group stage 2. Yes, we're kind of speeding along, but
you don't want to talk about Flashlux actually earning their first map win?
Leplos,
that's pretty much the only other thing.
We are rapidly approaching the 2-hour mark.
Yeah. Okay. So that basically means we get a drawing for group stages that happened as well over this past week. We have our groups labeled here. Group A, Team Kongdu Panthera, LW Red, Combox, and NC Foxes got placed in that one, which means we have another very, very strong group with Group B, X6, Lunatic-Hai, Runaway, GC Busan. Do you feel like they're balanced well, Jax?
I don't know, man. As balanced as it's going to be. I'd like to see Runaway and LW Red switch spots, so we have LW Red in Group B and Runaway in Group A, but
or maybe Conbox and Runaway.
I mean, looking at this, so I didn't watch it, and apparently they didn't have the translations for why everybody picked the way that they did, but a number of teams here, like, they want to face Lunatic-Hai early on. Like, if you're in a group with Lunatic-Hai now, that means you won't see them again until the finals.
Okay.
So at least you get to the finals where you have a chance. Whereas if you're against them, like, we could have we won't, but we could have a Lunatic-Hai Kongdu Pantera semifinal. I doubt it, but the potential is there. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I kind of feel bad though, because OGN has been the height of
production,
best of professional Overwatch, and now Lepelos, I'm looking at these groups and
not too interested.
I see a resident sleeper in chat from when we first started talking about this, and I kind of agree with that. Like, OGN maybe second group stage will pick things up, but as of right now, I'm saying to myself, well, Lunatic-Hai is leaving. LW Blue has already left. Pretty good chance Kongdu Panthera, if not the whole team, some members of it, will get poached away to the Overwatch League. And then where does that leave OGN?
Yeah, exactly. It is troubling as much as the Contenders, isn't it, for these other tournaments of what will be future moderate-sized tournaments. Okay, Jax,
You
let's
just want to do picks right now for this for OGN?
no,
Since
no.
you're...
I want us to move on. We'll do picks at the end with
Holy
everything.
crap.
We're gonna talk about the Overwatch Premier Summer Series. Is it? Yeah, it's Summer, 2017 Summer in China.
Overwatch Premier Series Summer, yeah.
Yeah. This week, major results. LGD remaining at the top of the league as they pick up 2 more wins this week against 2 over Team CC, 2 over League N Esports. They're sitting at 9-1. Miraculous Youngsters also sitting at 9-0 as they get two pretty easy wins. Although they did drop a map. Jax, they dropped a map against Team Celestial. Team Celestial, I say this with surprise because Team Celestial 0-9 with 3 map wins now.
Leplos, the map they dropped was Dorado, where they were full held. Wow, what makes you wonder what happened there?
Exactly. Yeah.
Really interesting. Okay.
So those are the major results from me, I think, this week. Anything else of surprise that stand out to you?
Nope. That's it.
Okay, so quickly from the standings then, it's LGD 9-1, Miraculous Youngsters 9-0, VG Gaming 6-3, FTD Club 6-3 right now.
I do want to point out Leplos 1246, who was previously winless, picked up their 4th win in a row. They are climbing.
Yeah, they are climbing.
Just like in the playoffs last year. They were mid-tier. They got into the playoffs. They go on a hot streak, and they win the whole championship. Now they're starting their run earlier because they were in danger of not even qualifying. Now they're in the green, on their way to the top.
Yeah, they're sitting at 4-5, tied with Lucky Future right now for that. I think 5th in. Sorry, actually 6th and 7th slot. It looks like, yeah. So they're up and coming. We'll keep our eye out on what happens.
To the playoffs.
Over in Brazil, we have the Overwatch Campeonato Brasileiro.
Leplos. Well, I'll talk after you go through the.
I mean, can we do I have to keep going through this, Jax? Or
wait, have they not played a game? They have not played a game since August 31st.
Exactly.
And you just said, do you have to keep going through this? I cannot believe you just did that, Leplos. But that's a good segue because, come to find out, Keep Gaming, the number 2 team in Brazil, Leplos, this will be the last tournament for that team. They're disbanding. So it leaves Brazil Gaming House without, they've dominated, but their closest competitor will be no more after this tournament. Now, this tournament goes okay.
And
the
for
group
a long
stages
while.
go until November 30th.
So a long while.
Holy crap.
So they will be around longer.
Okay.
But you look at the timing, Jax. We go back to talk about Yalla Esports leaving. We're talking about these regions which are smaller, also dropping people because they don't see a future in it. That's a concerning thing. Okay, we've already talked about that though. Let's go ahead and talk about a smaller tournament. Overguard Haste $1,000 Series 3.
Yep, the 3rd time they've had this tournament. It's again, I would have liked to have given this coverage, but as you see, we're already way over time.
Team Karma, you're saying here, is the Argentinian team competing over here. They managed to end up facing Toronto Esports, who make their way to the finals to face them and beat it over Toronto Esports. Karma taking it 3-2 over them to earn that victory.
A number of these teams, like banned from eHarmony, Big Baller Brand, I don't think they're called Big Baller Brand anymore. I've seen a number of these teams in the Academy Gaming weekly tournaments that happen on Monday night. So again, it's the only way, Leplos. It's the only way for these small. There's nothing else for them, right?
Yeah. So, speaking of smaller tournaments, though, we had DreamHack Montreal. Okay, so I shouldn't laugh at that. That's pretty cool. It's cool to see these bring your own computer tournaments. I'd like to see more. I don't know how Blizzard approves or will not approve it.
DreamHack always does this when they have them. It's just
the
only reason I added this to the schedule is because of the winners.
Yeah, and DreamHack has like a pretty good history with at least StarCraft as well as hosting stuff for the WCS over there. But here we had Envision deciding to show up and ruin anybody else's chances of winning. Let's be honest. Did they even drop a map? I'm looking.
No,
I'm looking. Did not drop a map on their way to a flawless victory over Mirage Sport Electronique. So good to see the local, probably Canadian, Quebec, French team getting through to the finals there at least. So hometown heroes unable to face Envision Esports. Who would have thought?
At least they put a little money in their pocket.
Yeah, but that's pretty good. That they managed to get that way. But yeah, that's it's good. Envision winning there. It's pretty serious money for like a tournament that's like local like that. I guess $6,000 US approximately, a little bit over. That's pretty good for them. So they needed to get their first victory somewhere, Jax, I guess. So okay, I won't joke about that. Let's go back to China. Team Story Chapter 3 continues. Let's catch up with that one. It's some of these other teams. On top of what happened last week, where we see NGA club seeing, we'll just actually start or say overall standings right now. 2 undefeated teams: NGA club, GAD Gaming. Some of the names that we find that are familiar, that I've seen before, are sort of in the middle of the pack, where we have WND.CN, Laoyan B also sitting at 1-1. Those 2 teams are basically middle of the pack. Not doing so well, ehome.cn sitting down at 1-3. So we'll keep our eye on this one, Jax. It's not actually that long.
The winner of Team Story qualifies directly to the Premier Series next season, spring 2018, whereas second through fourth place qualifies for the qualifier for the Premier Series.
Yeah,
but still, there's also money on the line there, so we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, definitely, and it does go through playoffs, it looks like, as well. So
yes,
not only do we have this week 3, it's on week 3, but it looks like it goes into week 5 of round robin stages. And I'm not sure if round 6 or week 6 is just the playoffs. So we've got about 3.5 weeks to go. More games probably overnight or / tomorrow. So that really sums it up, I think, for this
sums it up, Levels. We're
week.
an hour and 45 minutes in.
Yeah, and we still have to do our predictions, Jax.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm copying my predictions over.
Okay. Here we go.
And I have to get this all prepared, because we know we're gonna get them all wrong. We need that.
Listen, I'm pretty sure my picks are better than the people than left guy, middle guy, and reinforced right guy.
Yeah, we seem to be doing okay. We seem to be doing okay.
Here, big week.
We have the 6-match week coming up for North American Contenders. That's where we're going to start. Starting with the first match on Friday, Envious versus FNRG FE.
Oh, I obviously I like FNRG FE, but I've got to go for Envy.
I think that's a sure bet too, man. It's like hard to bet against them at this point.
No, this next one is not a guarantee.
No.
Not at all.
That's Kongarna versus Rogue. Do you feel good picking Rogue right now?
2 weeks ago, Kongarna Leplos was top of the league, tied with Envy. Now they're on 5th, looking in must win for both of these teams. Absolutely must win. They're 5 and 6. Only the top 4 make it into the playoffs. Losers effectively out. I'm taking Rogue. Kongarna, very suspect. The only reason they were at the top previously is because they played Renegades, and wow, they beat FNRG FE in week 2.
They did. There? I know, and FNRG FE did beat Rogue.
And FNR, oh my goodness. No, I'm not going to play that game, though. Rogue is going to take this series.
I feel like the attitude of Kongarna, the desperation will come through. Rogues with their disappointment will continue.
My biggest concern is them not being able to shut down Baby Bay, because their diva play
has not been great.
Baby Bay likes to play a lot of hit scan, and so if they don't shut down Baby Bay, then Rogue will lose. But they'll figure it out one way or another. I'm taking Rogue.
I think Kongarna will hopefully see improved play out of Michael finally this week a little bit. Probably not 1v1s with the Tracer, but when you look at the tank play overall from the side of Kongarna, I'm feeling that a little bit stronger than I'm feeling Rogue. Rogue, I think, is still sleeping. After
the 3 of them or 4 of them are still in Canada. They can't visas. They can't even get back.
I don't think they have much to feel good about themselves when they lost to FaZe. They did win against Immortals, and they did.
But that's nothing though, Lepelos. Immortals is bad.
Yeah, and they forced Game 5 out of FNRG FE.
Well, Lepelos, speaking of FNRG FE, let's go to the third game of the week. Envision versus FNRG FE. Huge game here.
Envision.
Will Envision continue the streak?
Yeah, that's a hard one. Do you have faith?
This is like previously you say, well, you look at who they played. They played Rogue. They played Immortals. You say, well, Jax, they've already proven themselves. Except both of those teams are somewhat suspect. Then they played Renegades, and they played Kingarna. This, I think, might be the first true test for Envision.
So,
and I'm taking Envision.
I'm gonna go opposite with you. It feels good, but okay. So, looking at FNRG FE, we know they have Buds.
Yeah.
Who plays a very, very good Thera. And we mentioned the weakness coming out of Envision.
Oh, that's right, Lepolos. They did not meet the fair check. Oh man.
Having some issues with that too. So it's gonna be a close one, but I'm gonna go opposite Jax. We're gonna have a split week for the first time in a while.
Okay.
Well, at this rate. Just to have some competition, I guess, between those two.
People, watch this game if you get the time for it. The potential is really now. Envision is in a good spot at 4-0. They've got some buffer to lose, but not much because who they play next, who we'll get to, is rad. This is a big game. Must win for FNRGFE because they don't want to fall down into the 5-6. And Envision, they want to keep the buffer that they have because, well, we'll talk about why. Because this next game, Lepolos, I can't believe I'm saying this, dude. No one cares.
Renegades versus Immortals. Your pick, though.
Immortals.
Yeah, my pick here, Immortals 2.
Listen, if they lose to Renegades, I might have to
I'll be disappointed
and evict them from the city of Los Angeles.
I'll be absolutely disappointed if they lose to Renegades here. That takes us in the next game, Kingarna versus FaZe.
Game again. FaZe.
I believe in FaZe over Kingarna.
The thing is, FaZe. I mean, this iteration of FaZe has not been, crumbling self-destructing like previous ones. So, if this was old FaZe, I'd say there's a really good chance they lose to Kingarna. But here, no, they'll continue on, and they'll win this.
And then Jax, we have the both currently undefeated teams facing each other for that final game of the North American week, with Envision taking on Envy.
If they lose to FNRGFE, this game becomes even more important for Envision. But now, Lepolos, they're playing with the big boys. And I want to see what they can do.
I've seen Envy lose to Envision on 6v6 stack on competitive play. But
that was entertaining.
It was entertaining, but is that what we can expect from this match? Do you pick Envision over Envy here?
Lepolos, I'm going to take Envision. And listen.
Wow.
Listen. Envy. I think Envy is playing a little too loose right now. The competition hasn't been there, and so I'm thinking. Then again, they got Coach Kai. Coach Kai might give them a little slack in other games, force them to practice here. But I'm gonna go with the underdog and take Envision. I think the thing is, I'd have to do double picks because I can tell you more after they play FNRGFE. But the biggest weakness, and it's not so much Farah, but the other weakness that they showed last week, Lepolos, was to Widowmaker. And no one is better than Taimu than staying out of the Widow's trap. And if Envision is too slow to respond, like Watchpoint, Baby Bay got through 2/3 of the map before they finally decided to shut him down.
Exactly. They had trouble.
Will not give them the same chance.
And you could argue Taimu's even better Widow and more consistent than Baby Bay. But Baby Bay did great there too.
But I'm going to stick with the underdogs here.
Okay, so your selection is Envision for this one,
Holy
Jax.
Crap, they're going to lose.
I did not tell you my secret reason for voting against Envision. That's because they've had too much fun in Montreal.
They were partying. There's a Reddit.
They're going to be hungover all week to practice, so they're not going to show up well against FNRG FE, and they're not going to show up well against Envy here, as well as they would hope.
Wow, Lepolos going hard against Envision, people. You heard it here. All right, that takes us through North America. I mean, again, like this sets because
I honestly say that strongly. I honestly don't know. I'm not certain on those picks. Like I feel this would be like one of those like 60-40 splits right now, right?
Okay, let me put this. Envision wants to win at least one of these games.
Yes.
Because their last game is against FaZe, and they could very well end the season 4-3. And 4-3 could very well be not good enough to qualify for the playoffs.
Yeah.
They want to win one of these two games so that FaZe, who I think is the second best team in North America, although I just took Envision over Envy, so I'm saying, we'll see. We'll see. Huge week for Envision. We keep
very,
saying this.
very
We
exciting.
keep saying this. Every week is a huge week for Envision. But this one here, they got to win at least one.
All right. Well, we have more picks coming in the European Contender season. Why don't we go ahead and start that? Only 4 games this weekend for European Overwatch. United versus Bazooka Puppy. Jack,
I can't believe what a disaster.
We have to pick between these 2 teams. Who do you pick?
E United.
You're picking E United?
Bazooka Puppy, as bad as E United is playing, Bazooka Puppies, I'm gonna say it again, disaster.
I have to go with E United, but like here's my problem. We've picked E United every single time, and they've lost.
This is the one team who was playing worse as a team than E United.
I absolutely agree with you. I don't think Bazooka Puppies are feeling it right now, and I don't think they're trying to turn it around as hard as E United are trying. Okay, 1-2-3 versus Team Misfits. What do you got there?
Well, I should point out Bazooka Puppies is already relegated. No chance for them to come back. E United must win all the way out. What did you say?
1-2-3 versus Misfits.
Misfits.
Yeah, I have to go with Misfits. There's almost like they're showing up very, very strong.
Gamers Origin had the right lineup to push them. I don't see the same from 1-2-3. I doubt Hafuku's ability to pressure them like Leaf did. In that DPS slot. Snillo, again, I like his Tracer. I'm looking forward to Snillo versus Logix. Really good Tracer play from both of them. This should be really good. I mean, that will come down to whose Diva protects them more or whose supports offer them more support. But I'm going with Misfits.
Yeah, I'm going with Misfits too. They've shown up to be really, really strong recently. 1-2-3, dropping to Gigante pretty strongly there. Sort of a disappointing performance from them. I don't think they're going to turn it around to challenge what's coming out of Misfits with the clutch plays from Tavik and so on in the last few weeks.
I don't think 1-2-3 can play can exploit the Doomfist check.
Speaking of the Doomfist check, though, Jax, let's go on and discuss Gamers Origin.
And
Cloud9.
Cloud9, I'm sorry. Here on Overwatch Rundown, we like consistency. Cloud9, not consistent. And I swear.
I mean, we've talked about this.
Go to Watch Point Gibraltar.
Yeah.
I'll have a fit. But I'm going with Gamers Origin.
I'll have to go with Gamers Origin too on this one because I don't even know who's going to be on Cloud9.
I told you the rosters are set, man.
I think Krems and Crusade were out this week.
There, but
yeah,
it's just Hardest and Leaf are. I mean,
are we going to do this again? All the same in EU and be disappointed? Final match: Team Singularity versus Team Gigante.
I like Singularity and what they've been doing. They're giant killers right now, Lepelos.
Are they Gigante killers though? That is the question.
I have to go with Gigante. Gigante, I think Misfits is the only team, and that's because they couldn't figure out Logix. I said it before. If Gigante can figure out a way to deal with Logix, they can beat them.
I mean, on Team Singularity, you had Poppy Fresh, was it going off this past week? Am I getting the teams mixed up?
But
do you think that could be enough of a challenge for Gigante?
3-1 Gigante.
I have to agree with you. I think Gigante is going to take it too.
I mean, again, Linksters. As long as Linksters keep playing at the level that he's at with Davin, they're good. If there's any drop off from Linksters, that's when Gigante starts to struggle. And for me, that's the problem though. Linksters, no matter on all the teams he's been on, including his national team, he's in that catalyst slot like Mangachu. When he produces, the team does very well. And Linksters, he's been producing. I just need him to keep doing it. We'll see.
Well, Jack, that's our predictions here for the Contenders Leagues. Similar in the EU, very different when it comes to a number of matches there. 3 matches, I should say. Or just 3? No, 2. No, 3. Sorry. 3 key matchups that we differ on there for North American. Do you want to do OGN? Is that starting up next week? Or
OGN, well, I was looking at OPC.
Is that 2 weeks away?
OGN. When did it? Well, OGN's schedule is always weird. Are they starting straight away?
It's 1 second.
Yep, September 15th is when we get Kongdu Panthera versus Combox.
And the Kongdu Panthera easily there. And other matchup for the week. Actually, I guess.
We have all 4 games.
Okay, all 4 games. So Group A first winners are going to be Kongdu Panthera and Luxury Watch Red. I think, in my opinion.
Ooh.
over NC Foxes.
NC Foxes has played well. They had, but I'll go with LW Red. LW. See, the problem I have is these groups are so bad that Group C, with AF Blue tanking like this, I don't know. Yeah, I'll go LW Red. Okay, yeah. Condu Pantera, LW Red from Group A. From Group B, I have Runaway and Lunatic-Hai.
I am actually going to be in agreement with you. I don't like looking at X6's chance there. Don't think they're going to take that versus
X6
Runaway.
made it through because that never mind. Don't even start on Group D. LW Blue screwed that group all the hell.
Yeah, so we're pretty similar there. We're similar there.
I don't have picks, but I just want to point out for OPC, we had a big week before. Now we're going to the second round robin stage, Lepelos. We start out with Hong Kong Attitude versus Blank. Huge game. Another big game we have is AHQ versus Flash Wolves. AHQ needs to turn it around here in the second round robin stage. As of right now, they are not in the playoffs. And Blank, I think, a little bit shaky at the moment. This is odd. So they ended. Sorry, what did I say? Oh, sorry. Flash Wolves versus AHQ. Yes. And Flash Wolves win on King of the Hill.
I mean, they have to turn that around. Right now. They've got to turn it around one of these weeks eventually. Like you've got to, and hopefully this week will be the time that they do it. But it's hard to say.
I mean, Lepelos, because looking at it, right, they play Libelant Supreme. The only map Libelant Supreme has won so far this tournament was the King of the Hill against Flash Wolves.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible that Flash Wolves will drop a map against Libelant Supreme, and it's really concerning for their play if that's the case. So.
The other big game for the week, though, Lepelos, is Ardent versus HKA. I'm expecting more Ardent domination.
I think that's a reasonable assumption.
There are a few big games from OPC. So the second round robin stage is getting going. Keep an eye on that one. And I think, is that it? I've just been told we passed the 2-hour mark, Lepelos.
Easily.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, we started off with a large rant.
Lepelos.
We could end with a large rant.
Lepelos. We're over 2 hours. Oh my.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, to be fair, there's so much happening.
There is.
You guys really don't know. I actually took notes and I've skimmed through so much.
Yeah, same here. I mean, that's the joy that you guys get to experience, is us trying to figure out what we want to reduce our notes down to even further, and feeling frustrated with like, oh, but there was this play that we're missing out on talking about and everything else. Like we could really go on further and further, and that's why we have the pre-game and post-game show as the advertisement goes live.
All right. That being said, though, Lepelos, if we're advertising, you can tweet at us at OW Rundown on. See, that's the guy who's posting Resident Sleeper in chat. He actually tweeted at us about Bazooka Puppies being unable to convert a cap with 6 ultimates, and we didn't even have time to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, but at OW Rundown, he's at Lepelos. I'm at Jax_Blake. Just send us a tweet. You know, are you enjoying the show? Do you want us to change it up? Do you want us to try to shorten it? Although I don't see how we shorten this.
Yeah. Or do you want us just talking rather than covering specific games, just like a concept or what? We'll do that if you guys prefer. Otherwise, we're just going to keep on going, Jax. At some point, I think we might lighten the load here and stop taking notes and go to that kind of a format.
There's just too many games.
There's so many games.
You have to take notes so that you don't,
forget everything. Yeah.
But you can also find us Tuesday nights around 9:10 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Lepelos. Lepelos also uploads this to YouTube. Is it YouTube?
Yeah, it started a couple of
Lepelos
episodes. Yeah, it's just the regular Lepelos there. You can find me.
Okay.
Find me doing that. I'm trying to do that as well as our podcast and on Twitch, where I'm also saving on Twitch. So you guys have multiple options to go and find us. Really appreciate if you guys could send your thoughts and prayers. I mean, likes and shares.
And your retweets.
And your retweets.
Because Lepelos, this is episode 53.
53, and we're horrible at self-promotion. So any help that you guys want to do for us in crowdsourcing that would be greatly appreciative. 53.
Advertise. Wow.
That's more episodes than weeks in a year, Jax. So it's going on. I think we're going to be able to do it, Jax. We're going to be able to get into the Overwatch League time and era of play at this rate with our podcast. So, lots of stuff going to happen in the lead up to that. If you guys want want us to continue talking about some more of the. I shouldn't say behind the scenes. We have no idea what's happening behind. We just see the news.
We have no contact.
We can get you guys up to date on that via our podcast too. But that's it for this week, right, Jax?
Yeah.
All right.
Holy 2 hours left belows. Come on.
2 hours, man. 2 hours so long. You know, Jax, it's hard not to talk it that long. Like, we cut stuff out and like we could